Okay, I trained as a coactive coach. Has anyone here heard of coactive coaching?
Yeah.
Fantastic, that's really good. Coactive coaching to me is about humanistic psychology, positive psychology, and a bit of NLP. There are two principles which as coactive coaches we hold very dear. The first one is that the client is always creative, resourceful and whole. I don't know whether any of you have done the MBTI personality indicator types. One of my types, or my 4, is J, which is J for judgment. Anyone else share that one? Yeah, okay, good. Be nice to have a conversation with you later about how we suffer with this particular aspect, because the whole principle of the client being creative, resourceful and whole doesn't sometimes fit well with this judgment aspect that we have to our personalities and characters. So I'm always trying to suspend my J, but the advantages of being a J is that I can make very quick decisions about things and I can be very focused, which is very nice. The second principle behind coactive coaching is dancing in the moment. Dancing in the moment. So what I like to do with my clients is sometimes we do a little bit of salsa or sarok. And when things are really rocking and we're in the zone, we might even get to tango. So we'll be there cheek to cheek and we'll both be heading in the same direction. And that's when the moment is just really fantastic and you know that everything is just working as it should be working. So dancing in the moment. The core purpose of my work is to assist businesses in being sustainable and to grow. Okay, and to be able to do that, I need to understand where the people fit in and what sort of contribution they're being asked to make and how the company can be put together as a really exciting mosaic that enables that to happen. Okay, so the way I do that is by using various different lenses, which I'll tell you about in just a moment. My talk was really about my top tips for leadership coaching, so I'm going to move rapidly on to those. I work with a lot of people, senior managers, business owners, for whom terms like coaching and leadership are completely alien. It's not part of their language, it's not part of their mindset. So I have a challenge for you guys. My first tip for you is ask yourselves, how good are you at selling? How good are you at selling? Because when I'm speaking with these people who are very successful, who believe they know everything about their businesses, who believe they know what they're doing, they don't necessarily think about getting engaged in conversations around leadership management and coaching, but what they are used to having is somebody sell something to them. So what is it that we're selling them and how does that work? I've spent some time in sales training and development, and I've spent some time thinking about coaching and the link between the two. There is a link. It might seem like a bit of a stretch, but there is a link. And what I do a lot of is I try and facilitate buying decisions. Okay? And in doing that, I will ask coaching questions around what somebody wants to achieve by being in front of me and talking to me and asking me in or whatever. So I'm always exploring how good a fit there is between them and me, because I want to be involved in win-win situations. So sometimes I need to tease out of people what it is that they're thinking about, what it is they think they need, where they think the impact's going to be, where the result's going to be. And a lot can be judged from that sort of conversation. My second tip for you is one that I found incredibly useful, is how do you understand a business? How do you understand the business you're in? I've come up very much through a school of thinking where I use culture, systems, processes, all of those kinds of ways of using a lens to look at a company or an organisation. I go into a whole variety of different companies. Last week in Dorset I was with a learning disability organisation. I then went on to a company that refurbishes and manufactures ATMs, which are cash machines that are used by the banks. So a huge amount of variety, but one of my USPs, I hope, is the fact that when I cross that threshold, I'm able to make some kind of analysis of the sort of business, the kind of people who fit well there and the kind of people who don't, the sort of things they do well with their people and the sort of things they might struggle with, because then what I'm interested in talking through with leaders is the breakdowns, the areas that are not working quite so well, because where there's pain, they want solutions. Okay. 5 to 20 minutes sometimes is all the time I might get to be speaking to leaders. So another tip that I've learnt very much is that I have to be incredibly focused. I have to be in the zone the moment I walk in, because if I fluff it up, then, you know, there's probably not going to be a second chance. So it's how you might manage your state when you go into those kinds of situations. And also, because we're talking about coaching, another tip I have for you is to coach in the moment. So you're coaching around that buying decision, facilitating it, but you're going to have to demonstrate what you do pretty quickly because it's hard to explain. So I have killer questions that I ask, and these questions have to be the right ones for that particular moment, and I have to be led by what the client is telling me as to what is the most suitable question to ask them at that particular point in time that will get to the heart of what it is that we're trying to sort out between us. So have some killer questions. And basically in leadership, what I like to try and do is I like to talk to the leader in the business, the top guy, and it's usually men that I deal with. I deal with HR managers, who are quite often women, but a lot of the people I deal with are guys. And what I'm looking for is a connection between what's happening at the very top of the organisation and what's happening at the very bottom, on the shop floor or on the tills or wherever. And what I'm looking for is not just leadership behaviours and styles. There's a lot talked about nowadays about leadership behaviours and styles. I'm more into manifestations of leadership that are embodied in organisations, in companies, in enterprises. So frequently I'm looking for what I call the golden thread. So it's the link between the top and the bottom and how that pans out in a company. And it's a fascinating thing to be able to do. One needs certain tools and techniques to be able to use to ferret out what might be happening. But then it's my role, as I see it very much, to reflect back, to be that coaching mirror, to reflect back to leaders and managers what may be happening and what can then be done about it. So those are my 5 top tips from my experience. Just a little bit about my story. As I said, I started out in the late 1980s in 2 UK business schools, which was a fantastic grounding for the sort of work that I do. I'm a bit of a hybrid. I love to think, but I love to manage. I like getting in there and sorting things out and dealing with the nitty-gritty. But I'm constantly re-energising what I think, how I think, where I get my ideas from. I'd recommend a couple of books that you might want to have a look at for the facilitative buying technique or the facilitative decision-making process in buying. The book is Dirty Little Secrets. It's not about sex. Sorry to disappoint you. Dirty Little Secrets, Sharon Drew Morgan. Really, really good. Do have a look at that. The second book that I'm really wild about at the moment is Jim Collins, which is Good to Great, which is all about analysing companies and helping people to see what's really going on in companies. Good to Great. Good to Great.